Jarrett Rose for the Times Picayune NOLA.com, ready to break down the Baton Rouge area football rankings after 9 weeks of the regular season, which are now complete. One more week of the regular season, and the playoffs will kick off next week. And as far as the Baton Rouge area, a lot of the top 10, at least the top five, has gotten kind of stable in the second half of the season. Beyond the top five has been an absolute mess and does not get any clearer. You look at 5A, and beyond Catholic, all those teams have kind of beat each other up. The three Ascension Parish schools, Dutchtown, Santa Ma, and East Ascension, all sitting at 2-2 in district play, and then Woodlawn and McKinley, both much improved, haven't been able to quite pull out as many wins as they would have liked to have. They're sitting at 1-3 in district play heading into week 10. And kind of starting there, I guess, number 10 this week, we have Woodlawn. They were at one point 4-1, and now they're sitting there at 5-4 after a little bit of a rough go in district. Saw a lot of positives last week against Catholic, only lost by 8 points. But again, they've had a tough go of it. They lost a game late to Santa Ma. They lost by a couple scores to Dutchtown, I should say. They actually beat East Ascension on a kind of a last-second thriller on an interception return. But just with where things are right now, heading into Week 10, Woodlawn ends up in the 10th spot. But as I've said in past weeks, these are really just kind of a toss-up. After you get past, say, number 5 or 6, it's just been an absolute toss-up with everyone beating up on one another. And at number 9, that Dutchtown team that beat Woodlawn a couple weeks ago had to escape McKinley this past week. They're sitting there with a 4-5 record. They've changed up some of what they've been doing offensively, kind of tightened things up and pulled back into a more run-heavy offense than they were starting with. But they're a team that their schedule's been maybe as tough as anyone in this group. Obviously, the record at 4-5, they'd love to be better. And they have a big one with Santa Ma on Friday to try and improve upon that and get back to even heading into the playoffs. East Ascension, a team that knocked off Dutchtown in an overtime game, is number 8. East Ascension, though, is the one of these teams that has yet to play Catholic. And Catholic, again, has looked about as strong as almost anyone in the state. And East Ascension also suffered some big injuries and a big loss in a big rivalry game to Santa Ma on Halloween night. So what happens with the Spartans moving forward will be incredibly interesting to monitor. That Santa Ma team, which had actually most recently been the odd man out of this group behind number 10 Scotlandville outside of the top 10, Santa Ma jumps in this week at number 7. They got the big, impressive win, which they needed against East Ascension, trying to bounce back from a little bit of a skid on their end. They're 5-4 right now and take over the number 7 spot this week. Denham Springs makes a nice jump forward. They were one of the more recent teams to climb into the top 10 and very nearly knocked off Zachary this past week, which Zachary is obviously a team that in recent weeks I've said is maybe one of the top 10 to 15 teams in the state. And Denham Springs really looked a lot better than what folks have expected from them this season. They had a lot of things working for them Friday against Zachary, just came up a little bit short, 28-24. And their 4 losses at this point as another 5-4 team in this group. They've lost to Catholic, which again, tough team. U-High, which was the team that started the season at number 1 in these rankings. Zachary, which has come on strong and been among the best in the state probably. And Woodlawn, a team that has shown big flashes. They knocked off a nationally ranked Warren Easton team and are in this top 10 still. Number 5, a team that actually beat Woodlawn in non-district play. Plaquemine is sitting there at 8-1. Just took a big step toward finishing out the 6-4A title with a victory at an undefeated St. Michael team. If they can get another win this week or get a loss from St. Michael, then they will clinch their second straight outright District 6-4A title. They've had a heck of a year, played some tough competition, and are number 5 in the rankings this week. Livonia, one of 12 undefeated teams, sitting at 8-0. That's the number 4 team this week, and they have a huge one Thursday night at Church Point. That'll be basically a district title game against Church Point, the same way it was last year in Week 10. At number 3, there's that U-High team that started the year at number 1 in these rankings. They're a 3A team, one of the smallest 3A schools in that classification, but they are as talented as maybe anyone in the area, at least, if not the state. And they've shown their ability to play with some of the big boys. They ended up pulling away and beating Denham by several scores. Number 2, a team that took a big rise from outside of the top 10 to start the season and has been at number 2 for the last several weeks. That Zachary group, The two times I've seen them, they've struggled a little bit in the first half, but still managed to come back and get the victory late against Central and against Denham Springs this week. And other than that, they've really been able to beat up on people. They lost to a real strong Bird team in week one, got down in that one, very nearly came back there, and since then have not lost. They're sitting at 8-1, as is this week's number one team in the Baton Rouge area. Probably little to no surprise, the Catholic High Bears took over the number one spot several weeks ago and have not let up on it. That 5-5A district was supposed to be a wild deal, wild west, similar to the SEC West, a lot of coaches were saying. And everyone got the memo except for Catholic. Catholic has just kind of rolled along. The only loss on their schedule has been a 3-point loss to Rummel, which is a team that I've said consistently is probably the best in the state. And a lot of folks at this point are thinking Catholic might see Rummel again in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Whether we get that matchup in the Superdome remains to be seen. Obviously, both teams would have several wins still left to get before anyone gets to a potential state championship point. But again, breaking down the Baton Rouge area top 10 after 9 weeks, you have number 10, Woodlawn, number 9, Dutchtown, number 8, East Ascension, number 7, Sanamaw, number 6, Denham Springs, number 5, Plaquemine, number 4, Livonia, number 3, University Lab School, U-High, and number 2, Zachary, number 1, Catholic.